So, hi, Daniel. What was your first computer?
Hi. Well, my first computer was it was Intel 386
Wow.
DX.
Yeah, this was like a beefy machine. So, okay.
Yeah, but it was in 1996 or 7, so then
Okay.
it wasn't the beefest then.
And what you did with that?
Yeah, I played games.
Which games?
Uh, do you remember Commander Keen? I'm not sure which.
Commander King.
Keen. Commander Keen.
No.
I think it was from ID Software or something like that.
Okay. And what do you have to do with that?
Yeah, you have been jumping around with this little astronaut and killing slimes and
Okay. The name somehow I remember the name, but I cannot remember the astronaut. But okay, Commander King. Okay, and something else?
yeah, like everybody else, Wolfenstein and
Okay.
those
So
games.
it's more like shooter games, right?
Yeah, I like those. The Golden Axe. Yeah, that was nice.
Oh, you remember
You,
something?
you,
What is it? Golden?
Golden Axe.
Okay.
Yeah,
Golden X.
you had this little dwarf with axe, and you've been riding the dragons in there. And
What I saw a game, you remember, is about something Hexen. You know Hexen game?
yeah, I think I only read about it years
It
ago.
was
I
more
think it was.
like you were a witcher or somewhere, and something like this. So okay, it was around the time 1996. So because you say the X or the Hexen, so this is what. Okay, and you played all the time, or you started programming, or what was the transition from gaming to something more serious?
Yeah. It's in those years. I guess like most of my friends did. I ran into the front page.
Why?
The front page, the software you can graphically
Yeah, but why? I
prepare
know from
HTML.
Microsoft, it's a terrible software
Yeah,
which generated lots of beautiful markup. I would say HTML
yeah.
markup.
It wasn't beautiful, but it was nice because I could
Yeah, this is
actually
what
do
this was a
something.
joke. This was like the worst possible HTML output ever. So I always said, was it a front page generator? It was a running joke back then. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it was timed like created in front page always, so nobody can think that you created this manually. So it was nice because I could see how it's being done. So I've been kind of copying the style from front page, I guess.
Okay,
And
so you wanted to have the design from front page, right? The look and feel.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So I have been learning the first steps there. And then I guess in high school we have started with Pascal, Turbo Pascal.
But wait a second. But still, is why you started at all with front page? You needed a website, or you would like to impress your friends, or what? Why you did it?
Yeah, I was trying to create a website, because I read some article. There was some famous page in Czech Republic. It was called Jak psát web. It's in loose translation is how to write web. And
Okay.
there was some articles about how to start with creating web pages and those. So when I read it, I was actually interested, and somebody mentioned their front page. So I've been playing with that. It was interesting. So it's how.
What
how
was
I
on your
started,
first website? You remember?
Not at all. No. I think maybe I've been trying to create a web because my father had a construction company, so I've been trying to create a web page for his company. And in few years, I have succeeded somehow and created some really ugly web page because I am colorblind, so it wasn't really nice. I do remember that people were like, yeah, it's nice, but I didn't mean it really.
I'm not colorblind, but my first page was also terrible because what happened was I wrote properly the first website, I think 1995 or something like this. It was very, very early. And I published it on the Telekom, T-Online back then, and forgot about that. And around 5 years ago, I got an email from the Telekom whether I still need the website. So I saw it again, and it was completely not aligned. So it was, text everywhere. Then what I remember was like the email sign was a animated mailbox, of course. It was red or something. The colors were completely off. And the header was, what I remember, what I wrote back then is, it was like a saying back then, like, in internet, no one knows that you are a dog or something like this. So this was like, and I was like, why I wrote that? And there was like a common meme back then about that. So my page was terrible. I saw that. It's like, this is impossible that I did something like this, right? So, but this is a private podcast, so no one will know about that right now. So,
but this one, it was online. How many years? It's almost.
It was 20 years.
Yeah, that's pretty long for one version of website. I think.
But after 2 years, I forgot about that, and it still remained online. And
maybe it had some visitors.
And the nice woman from the telecom said, "Okay, I don't think you still would like to keep it online, right?" So this was really a nice interaction with the customer service, and I say, "Oh, this is like museum, you know." And so you succeeded with your Frontpage experience. And by the way, Frontpage. So Microsoft Frontpage back then, I had to evaluate all the tools for companies. So there was PageMill from Adobe, Frontpage, and the Navigator Composer, then Hot Metal editor, then I forgot the name, NetObjects Fusion editor, and Frontpage is one of them, and Frontpage was the worst. So for me, it was like, please don't use worst. This Frontpage was really, really bad. So therefore, you said, you use Frontpage. I was like, okay, this was like seemed like a joke for me, because if you were in my team back then, we always joked about Frontpage, right?
Yeah, I still have time to try the other ones, so maybe
No, they are in museum as well. What you can do right now is Visual Studio Code, probably, this would be a nice one.
Yeah, I have it installed, but I'm using it. I'm not using it as much as I wanted to try it, but
what are you using usually now?
Yeah, I'm using IntelliJ IDEA all the time.
Netbeans from Czech Republic. You have to use Netbeans.
I use it for many years. I have started with IDEA, I have to count it, 5 years ago.
Okay.
And then before then, I've been using a Netbeans a lot, but then I came to the team where everyone else was using IDEA, and it was kind of complicated to blend in. So
okay, you're right. So now you started with Frontpage. You had success. Your father had construction business, so you created very successful pages for him, right? So this is the theory right now. So what happened after Frontpage? You already mentioned in high school you learned Turbo Pascal.
Yeah. Well, I went to the high school when we've been doing the electronics, so I really enjoyed playing with this TTL, integrated circuits.
Yeah.
If you remember those 74 something circuits, and we have been building flip flops and counters.
A question about that: did they work? Because I really enjoyed, but I have to say, in my early years, I spent a lot of time with integrated circuits and nothing worked. Never. So I never managed anything to work. And I say, I'm too stupid. I will never do so. I was just really disappointed. So for me, I don't know what I did wrong. It never worked. And then later, a lot later, at almost at study, we had to do some, how to call it, almost like a practicum. So where you had to do some workshop like with electronics. And it started working back then, because there was the teacher, and I was really surprised that I can actually do something which works, right?
Yeah. The TTLs works. It was almost like toys. I really liked it, but
you don't have to salt, with temperature, no?
We have been using those solderless breadboards. It's called.
With the soldering, you had always had the cold salt places, or overheated the stuff, or the drop was too large, and then I tried.
I was really bad at
and then I tried with a knife to make it work, but it never worked. So I was really sad, because I was completely fascinated by the circuits, but it never worked. So I was I thought this is what to do. Okay.
I had similar experience with CMOS. And then I learned that's because they are sensitive to static electricity.
Yeah. This one also learned.
I have destroyed most of them before I ever tried to.
So you have always to touch, water faucet or something, then it works, right?
Yeah, we had some bands on hands, and we had to be grounded.
Okay, the Turbo Pascal, was it the first language at high school?
Yes. I guess it was the first language I've ever tried to compile.
And you had to learn that, or was it your choice?
No, we had to. We had to.
And you enjoy that, or?
Well, I don't remember it that much, but I think I like that. Yeah. we have transitioned to the Delphi, like in the next year, and I really like the Delphi. I really like the way you could in the Borland Delphi. I don't know how that editor was called. It was just Delphi, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And you could design those graphical interfaces, like with
GUI builder, right? With
yeah, and it was great. And years later, I saw it in Netbeans, and I was like, okay, this is really the same thing.
Okay.
And then I read somewhere that it's really inspired by that. So
yeah, and so you learned at high school already. So how old were you with the Turbo Pascal stuff?
Yeah, I don't know, 17.
Okay.
16, 17. Yeah, 16 maybe Turbo Pascal and Delphi 17, 18.
Yeah, okay, then you are now old senior developer almost, with 17.
I don't feel senior.
So I would expect I learned, programming with 3, and then with 5 I did the first object-oriented, stuff.
Yeah, no, I wasn't that young genius.
Just joking. And so you did the Delphi. And what happened after Delphi?
Yeah, I went to college.
Okay. Prague as well? Czech Republic?
Yeah, it was in Prague. And
is it the nice college? I delivered Java user group, I think in Prague. There's in the old town, a really nice, beautiful building, an old building. Is it?
That's the Matfis Java user group. I may have been there, I think.
Yeah, but was it your college? Where I was?
No. That's the university. I was in a college, like it's not part. It was not part of of the university. It was like a technical institute.
Okay.
But the college. But you can continue to the university from that.
Then I was also in college because I was in German. This is like. I forgot what it's called, but this is not university. It's like a technical university. Then it is. The university is more theoretical. And I studied whatever. It's called something like applied science. This is what the official title.
Higher practical.
Yeah, something like this. I forgot actually. I think it's called Fachhochschule in German. It's like and the university is more theoretical, or at least back then. And this is I think this is college. Something applied science, I think this is the translation. I actually forgot, but it was computer science what I studied as well. But okay, there are this here. So the Java user group was at university, and you studied at college somewhere else, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And it was a private college founded by my owner of small software company in Prague.
No kidding, private college.
Yeah, it was a private college, and the owner was actually, the
owner of the college.
Yeah, because it was founded by the owner of this small software company.
Okay.
And he was pretty famous. He was one of the Kamenicky brothers. I don't know if you heard of them. They are famous in Czechoslovakia, but
okay,
because they were encoding pioneers in Czechoslovakia by creating Kamenicky encoding. Which was it was combining the characters which looked similar to our Czech characters with punctuation and everything, and then you could use it on the computers which wasn't prepared for this encoding, and you could print the characters, and it was at least readable. So they created encoding like that, and they're famous for that. And
so what they did they Unicode, or what they did? Is it like a Unicode characters, or what was it?
It's being described as code page 895. I have marked it here, so I don't forget that. But it's not recognized by IANA, so I guess it's known only in the public.
So I never heard about how they called Kamenicky.
Kamenicky encoding. I can send you the wiki page.
Yeah, for sure. We have to put it to show notes because everyone would like to learn now about Kamenicky encoding.
Yeah, and it was really.
What was it used in the business, or why you need it to display the Czech characters on the screen, or why?
Yeah, and to print them on some old printers, I guess. And
was it like LaTeX that they were drawn, or what's the deal with that? So
no, because there were a lot of after the revolution there were a lot of printers imported from the West to East, and those couldn't print the Czech characters.
Okay.
So they have created encoding, which was using the characters from the Western encodings.
Yeah.
And which looks, there wasn't the same, but they looked similar for like our characters. So when you print it, it wasn't perfect, but it was readable.
And they were therefore so popular in Czech Republic, just because of interesting. Because in other countries like Romania, Poland, or whatever, there should be the same problem, right?
Yeah, that would be interesting to investigate how.
So the next time I'm talking with Vlad Mihalcha, I will ask him about Romanian encoding, which brothers did they in Romania? Who was it?
They had to do it somehow.
Yeah, and all Russia as well. Russia even worse, right?
Yeah, but the Czech characters are really close to the Latin, so I guess.
Yeah, Russia, they had a completely different problem, so they had to do something. Yeah, okay. Well, okay. So you learned at the famous college, who was founded by Kamenicky brothers. Brothers, you said?
Yeah. There was two of them.
Yeah, brothers. Are they still alive?
Yeah. I hope. Yes, they are.
They're interesting. So what they're doing? So we have to do some investigation. Who actually make Czech characters printable on
the Kamenicky brothers. Everybody in Czechoslovakia in Czech know that.
Okay, then I can check an upcoming podcast, someone from Czech Republic, whether she or he knows about Kamenicky brothers. If not, probably nicht Czech. We have to ask Dimitri. This is now the question. This is assignment to you. Yeah, ask the Dimitri Kornilov or whether he knows about Kamenicky brothers. If not, it's suspicious.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, perfect. And it was a nice university or college where he studied?
Yeah, it was great. It was really practical because they actually wanted to get the employees from the college. So they've been actually teaching the stuff they wanted for the company. So we have been learning Java like from the first hour we
really?
there.
That's incredible. But why? Because they wanted to improve the encoding? No, they wanted to do something else, right? The Kamenicky brothers.
Yeah, because they had a problem that it was a small company, and when someone starts to be really senior, he usually left for some bigger company to make more money. So they've been trying to make their own junior but not so junior engineers, I guess. So that was the idea of the college. So it was great because we started programming like right away, and I didn't like Java immediately.
Okay,
I would say.
No problem.
I
will cut it out, this section.
Yeah, okay.
But with Java you started?
It was 1.5.
Oh,
yeah,
great.
Yeah. I think it was like some that year where the 1.6 came out.
Okay.
And I have in the first year I have started internship in the company, and there were few .NET developers there, so I've been trying to learn .NET. And all of them were using Visual Basic. So the logical thing was that they've been teaching me the Visual Basic, and then I started to love Java.
Okay.
I switched the team. I started to program in Java, and
with Netbeans, hopefully,
like the breaking point.
Was Netbeans used at the university?
Yeah, hugely. Everyone was using it.
Oh, very good.
It was like really huge thing back then. So
because we have to explain that Netbeans is actually a Czech product, right? It was developed in Czech Republic, I think, by Jaroslav Tulach and all the initial team, and then it was bought by Sun Microsystems. This is the history of Netbeans, right?
Yeah. I'm not sure if it was. I can't remember the name of the company, but. Yeah, it was called Forte.
Forte. This was then Sun bought them, and there was Forte for J and for Enterprise and whatever, and Forte. There was Netbeans and Forte in one.
And before it was xelphi. Yeah, the very first version was xelphi. I think that's why it's so similar to Delphi. I guess.
And the whole history, we actually recorded a podcast with Jaroslav Turach back then, so he explains the history of.
Yeah, I heard it. I heard that one.
But if the Kamenicky brothers play a role, we should invite them as well. If they still like to talk about the university and printers, would be fun actually, right?
Yeah, I think the Marian, the older one, he's actually he's been teaching on the university in the same room that you have been talking on that Prague JAC meeting. Yes, and he's
in this room.
Teaching,
there were an older man, or a professor. He wrote everything down. I said we had a chat. Probably he was the Kamenicky guy. Maybe.
There are a few more older men on that university.
But they were very interested. So what really strikes me, this guy wrote everything down and was really, he just listened what I said, with I don't know what I did, probably microservice or whatever. He was really interested in it. So this is what I remember. It was unusual. And then we had a brief chat and then I flew back. So this was my...
And how long ago it was?
2 years. 2 years ago.
Yeah, I may have been there, but I'm not sure. No.
So, okay. So where are we now with your you didn't like so much Visual Basic on .NET, and then you really love Java, starting with JDK 1.6, of course, on NetBeans.
Yes,
right?
Yes, and I switched the team, and this second team was really
you
interesting.
Mean team? Is it team at the university, or is it we are speaking after university or after college?
During the internship in the company, because while I've been studying, I've been part-time working in that company already, more like learning than, so I wasn't actually creating anything, more like learning the stuff from the older colleagues. And the second team, it was actually led by the really super senior programmer, and who was working on proprietary XML processor in that company, because they have been working with a lot of XML, and when they started, there was only DTD for validating, and they needed, they need to transform a lot of XML and validate. So they have created their own validation language, and it was called X definitions.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was told that by then it was the fastest XML parser in the world.
Interesting.
Maybe it was true.
X definitions, you say. So we have to make some research.
X definition, and it's still it's been open source like 2 years ago, I think. And this super senior developer is now, like much more senior than then.
Oh, this is it is now an extreme senior.
Yeah, it's like the oldest still working program I have ever saw. And he's still working on this XML processor while it's open source, and it's available in GitHub. I think it's
actually a great story. It just remembers me on the LaTeX, actually. This is also the I forget the guy who created LaTeX. It's the same story. He actually even pays someone who will find a bug on LaTeX.
Yeah, there was a prize for it, right?
Who created LaTeX? I forget. We have to forget the name. I don't know. That's very famous guy, and he just does LaTeX all the time. And
but I don't know if anyone has actually won the prize.
No, this is the problem. It is there's bug free. Okay, and then we have a second instance. Donald Knuth. This is the name. Yeah, which was designed and mostly written by Donald Knuth, and the developer exactly Tech. And LaTeX was by Donald Knuth. Is this what I remember?
So there is a bugless software somewhere.
Yeah, of course. And the X definition, also a curious story. And you worked on the team, right, back then?
Yeah, I've been like creating the just the stuff around. So I've been creating NetBeans plugins, so the language is supported, and I think I created even the thesis. Yeah, my thesis was about the plugin itself for the X definitions in the NetBeans.
Wow. So you know all the NetBeans guys as well, Jaroslav Tula.
Yeah. It was like I had a chapter about history of NetBeans there.
Very good. So okay, so they didn't expect that. So they had actually these. So one question that interests me: why you didn't did the internship at Kamenicky brother company? Because
it was a company. It's the same company.
The same company. Okay, this makes sense. Because if they wanted,
they've been creating the X definitions. It was in-house software back then. It was open source like 2 or 3 years ago, I think.
And was it a large company, the Kamenicky brothers? Is it like is it like a Microsoft in Czech Republic or what?
No, it was like I don't know how much, 40, 50 people.
Okay. And what they did for government something, or was it?
Yeah, for government. It was for the insurance companies. They've been they've been doing a lot of traffic accidents and the insurance companies and like exchange of the data about the cars and the owners and
perfectly. So I think this was a great choice. So you learned a lot at the college, right? So I mean, you learned really.
Yeah. It was. I think I was really lucky for getting there because it was really. Practical.
Okay. what else you did at the college? So you're done with the thesis and the X definitions. This was your major involvement.
Yeah, and then I have moved to another team which was more business related. So I have started to work on. I have inherited the register of traffic accidents for Slovak Ministry of Interior.
Wow.
So that was the guy who did that before me. He left,
okay.
And he left. He even left for creating some games on the iPhones or something like that.
Oh,
because
really?
Because it was the Ministry of Slovak Republic had WebSpheres. Cluster,
okay.
and there was older type of WebSphere, the WebSphere 6.
Okay.
And it had to be written in HB's 2.1,
wow.
And he has written it all and then left. So
yeah, this is a good strategy. Okay.
Yeah, that was great strategy because.
And you had to use the Webster Developer Studio with all the wizards to create the
rational. It was starting like for 15 minutes and then it crashed and it was that was a beast to start. Yeah, and I have spent
what project. I assume it was around 2004, right? Could it be?
No, much later. It was. I have it marked here. It was 2011. And that's why the guy left.
Okay, because yeah, you're right. iPhone came out 2007, so it couldn't be 2004 and 2005. But around, I would say, around 2006, maybe 2004, 2006. I was asked by a large company, healthcare system, to help them with WebSphere development to do something more fresh. And they used the WebSphere Developer Enterprise Studio, whatever it's called, with all the wizards. And they say, okay, how we can improve the developer workflow, right? And I say, okay, what about we won't use the WebSphere Developer Studio? They, why? We have to. It was very expensive. And then I was called, to the manager. And then I said, okay, let's try this. So we will use just Eclipse. This is absolutely compatible with WebSphere Developer Studio. And then use Xdocklet to generate the deployment descriptors. And then we won't use the wizards. And then we started, a brief project. And this changed everything. So then it became somehow productive, right? It was still slow, but it was a way better than before with the wizards. And then we did another proof of concept back then, I think Whitefly or Glassfish. I switched with NetBeans, and then it was really reasonable, right? But the first experience was crazy because there were lots of buttons and wizards, and I always forgot what is what. And they generated the specific deployment descriptor, the WebSphere deployment descriptor with the XMI, and I say, okay, why you are generating so much? I don't get it. So I was very suspicious with XML and deployment descriptors back then.
Yeah, it was. I have inherited the book how to release the thing, and it was a small book full of screenshots from the rational application developer. It was
rational, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was like
RAD, Rational Application Developer Studio, exactly.
Exactly. And if you've been lucky enough and it didn't crash during this release process, then you may have a chance to release. Actually,
machine learning could solve that. Machine learning could try to find the picture, then identify what to push, and we can automate. You will get a scanner, get the book, deploy the EGB, and it will go page by page and deploy everything. Right. And the funny story is, if we simplify then the EGBs, there was nothing left from the wizard. We just had, the first EGB started transaction, all the others were POJOs. There was nothing else to set up. This was the funny story. So in all working projects, there was actually no configuration at all. So I had no idea what they configured in the EGBs back then. So it was crazy.
Yeah. There was. I remember there was a lot of interfaces around the HB's 2.1.
Of course. HB 2.1, yes. So I can tell you.
And you had to generate the stubs for the remote beans, I think, and it was created with some binary from WebSphere.
Prior to JDK 1.3 you had. With JDK 1.3 you got the dynamic proxies. But you had EGB 2.1. So you had an EGB and two interfaces, remote and the home interface, remote home. And then, of course, local and local home. So if you wanted to have local. So what the architects said, okay, we have two interfaces, so we need a super interface. We call it business interface, which implements the two others. The two other interfaces implements the business interface. But the business interface, has to throw some exceptions. So therefore, we create another interface without the exceptions, which would have wrapped all the other interfaces and then service locator. So for one class, you had to generate or create, I would say, easily 10 files. And
yeah. And the rational developer created all of that for you, and you had absolutely no idea what just happened.
And then in Germany,
explosion of files.
The solution to the problem was MDA. Remember MDA? Model-driven architecture, where you draw just the class in UML tool, and it would generate all the stuff because there was 1:n, ratio, so you could generate easily everything. And yeah, this were actually good days, interesting. So okay, nice.
Yeah, and
so you inherited the project for was it was accidents, intern accidents,
a register of traffic accidents. Traffic someone crashed in Slovakia. Then,
but it was interesting. You could actually see when the most crashes happen, right? So you could actually have access to it.
Yeah, it was really complicated because we hadn't access to the data itself or the cluster.
Okay.
We had to request over the email with some form to some policeman that we want logs from this time to this time because we think that there may be a bug somewhere. And it was really, the hunting for bugs was really complicated, and investigation took like days. It was complicated. But when I came to that, I've been trying to learn the HGBs 2.0 because I know absolutely nothing about it. So I have bought some really old book about HGBs 2.1.
Yeah.
In 2011, it was old book, and it was actually quite fun to read because there were articles about UDDI registers and those things, and it was like, this will be the future and everything, and then it was already known that some of these things won't be the future. So it was.
Yeah, but we try over and over again the old stuff.
Yeah, it's returning in a loop.
Yeah, with different names. We can call it now.
I think it was really interesting those registries, but the XML somehow fallen.
No, YAML is way better. This is what I appreciate.
I am like. I'm the XML worshipper. I will be worshipping it.
Yeah, you should, your next thesis, you should write right now, 10 years later or 20 years later, and plug in for IntelliJ, to manage YAML. Or pink the Kamenicky brothers, to have some YAML transformations going on. This would be.
Yeah.
The fastest YAML formatter on earth. This is what we need,
Yeah. I don't think it's that complicated to parse it. It's more complicated to read it.
No, to write it. To write
it
is
really.
Write
it, yeah.
So I have to say I'm pretty good with it right now. So I had lots of fun with YAML, but in the recent weeks I managed to write a couple of YAML files without any error, which really surprised me. I said this is impossible. So I sent them over and over again. No errors. Okay, accepted. Interesting. Okay.
If I send you a YAML snippet right now through the Slack, are you able to insert it in the middle without breaking it?
No, I wrote it in one session, a continuous session without breaks, and then it worked. The problem was I'm still not sure with the typing. Sometimes it has to be string and sometimes not. But with the indentation, I think I got it somehow with the arrays or not. So this is exactly. What strikes me is that everyone claims it is simple. And it just, in one time, YAML is everywhere. And everyone accepts that. This is what I don't understand. Because it is not like, the simplest possible solution. Or I don't even know which problem does it solve. Because people say, in JSON, there are no comments. But I have to admit, in most YAML, there are also no comments. I mean, the possibility is there, but no one comments. So I would say, okay. And JSON, I prefer JSON, I have to tell you. So JSON is what I understand. I can write easily. XML, no problem with XML. Can write just XML. It's chatty, but who cares about chattiness? Right? And YAML is like XML without the ending tag a little bit, right? So
yeah.
Okay, now stop bashing about YAML because who knows what happens. Was the project interesting with the accidents in Slovakia or Czech Republic? Is it Slovakia or Czech Republic?
No, it was registered for Slovakia, but the company was in Prague, so it was for
foreign country, right? Which Slovakia is Bratislava, right? And Prague is Czech Republic, right?
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
And when it was split apart, When happened, the split? Because what I remember, Czechoslovakia was with Think, and when you separated the countries?
1994.
Oh, late.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there was some time after the revolution and before the splitting. It's kind of funny story because it's the whole splitting started. There were a lot of tensions, and it started with discussion about dot or no dot the slash.
Okay.
Because in the parliament there was discussion how we should be called, if we should be Czechoslovakia or
and the dash, the minus, the dash, right?
Yeah, the minus, yeah. And it started with this debate, and it went so far that we split up. So that's how it started. Yeah.
So this is another. This is great because I have another example now for bike shedding or Parkinson law of triviality. You know that? Parkinson law of triviality. Heard about that?
No.
Parkinson law of triviality says that the more trivial something is, the longer it takes to discuss. So this was there was a nuclear reactor in the USA in 50s, and all decisions were made fast, except the color of the carpet in the entry hall, because everyone wanted to contribute to the discussion. So it seems that this is what split your countries, right? Just because there was no place for the dash, whether there's a dash or not. Okay. What I remember, I was in project in Slovakia, and this is when the euro was introduced, I think. There was a huge signs on the buildings, we introduced euro. There was I think it was in Bratislava back then. Mm-hmm. But now it's not a big deal. This is not really two countries, it's more like one country.
It's like
semi-countries.
We are closer with Slovakians than with Slovaks than with other countries around, I guess, because we have a lot of common history. But
But there's actually no differences. Say if young people now are the Slovaks or the Czechs, there's no difference, right? It's like one country, or you feel different if you are Czech or Slovak. So is this?
I guess that my parents were more used to the Slovak language because it's a little different. It's almost the same but little different.
Okay.
And there are some words that actually are not used in the other language. So I have more problems to understand the Slovak language than my parents have, because they've been used to hear it in the television.
Two different languages. This is what I knew. I think there's one language for the entire country. So you have two.
No, it's
two dialects.
If you spend an evening in a pub with some Slovak, you will get to it.
Okay.
Eventually, during that one evening, because
it depends on the amount of beer, I guess, right? So
exactly. Okay. The beer helps.
Very good. So now we covered a little bit of history and even a little bit politics. So the story of the dash. This is actually the story.
And I want to get back to the HBs, because the rest of the time I spent there, I've been transitioning those 2.1 HBs to 3.0 HBs, because then the Slovak Ministry of Interior migrated to WebSphere 7, which was great because I could migrate to HBs 3.0. I have Maven, I sold that big project, and
HB3 were great. It still are. I mean, the HB3 is just one class with an interface. Done.
Yeah, I think you don't even need the interface. I'm not sure now, but
the first edition needed, and then 3.1 make it optional.
Yeah. And it was 3.0 because
the Java E5
still,
you needed the interface, and then in Java EE6 it was optional. And of course, what I did, I deleted all the interfaces immediately. So what we end up having is one class with one at stateless, no deployment descriptors, and this was the easiest possible framework back then.
Yeah.
It was productive.
And it was how I actually, I get to the enterprise Java and those things, because I've been actually studying back to the history what I didn't have chance to learn before. So it was nice to actually be able to get the hands of those HBs 2.1, because I don't think I would get any chance later to.
Yeah, but the HB 2, they were not complicated, they were cumbersome. There was a lot of stuff to write. This is not, if you knew, it was not a problem. Many said, it's too complex to learn. No, it was actually simple to learn. It was just not unnecessary. The problem back then was there were no annotations. If you don't have annotations, you have to put, the stuff somewhere. And this was XML. And there was also at the beginning no dynamic proxies in Java, so the code was generated. With dynamic proxies, you can generate on the fly, all the aspects for an interface. So you don't need the circus with the two interfaces. But many, they said, okay, this is all bloated, but there were no alternatives, actually, if you think about it. It was really hard to do something else with this technology available. There was lots of code generation involved behind the scenes. And then, immediately we got Java 5. We got Java 5 as well, immediately, with easier to use frameworks and languages. What strikes me that your ministerium used WebSphere, not Glassfish, for instance.
Yeah, I don't
or
know
Whitefly,
why.
because open source, yeah.
Yeah.
No, wait. Back then, it was all commercial. So I also was some larger project in Switzerland and Austria. They also used always WebSphere or WebLogic. So back then, you're right. It was not very common to use open source tools because for serious projects, you always bought the support.
I've been playing with Glassfish in 2011 or 12, I think, and there was like two versions, some commercial one and one, if I remember correctly. But
from Sun Microsystems, exactly. This was.
Yeah.
So and the conversion went well. Were you happy with the result? So I mean.
Yeah, I was super happy, and I was super happy because of the Mavenizing the project. I could get rid of this rational application developer, so I switched to Netbeans, and then it was like fun again. I even created some plugin for Netbeans to actually, recognize the HGBs 2.1 and 3.0, so I could switch to them fast.
Story about EGB3. So I was hired by a company and they wanted to modernize WebSphere. And they knew that I know Java 5 and Java 6, and they had EGB 2.1. I say, no problem. We do a workshop and we will migrate during the workshop, and you don't have to prepare anything, just do it. And it's okay. And they came to the workshop and they took the rational developer studios. And then what you had to do is you had to install, I think it's called service pack or patch, or something, feature pack, or something like this, feature pack in WebSphere for the EGB3 container, because it only
feature packs.
Packs. Yeah. And the feature pack for EGB 3.1 back then was 1 gig. And it took forever to download because the internet was not as fast as today. And I say 1 gig, honestly, I had no idea what you are downloading because, in Glassfish, the same container was 700 kilobytes. And I already suspected there's video material included because there's no way that the EGB, it could write Java software, which is 1 gig big. So I had no idea what was inside. I still is curious. What I remember exactly 1 gig. And we spent 1 hour in the workshop just downloading this feature pack. And then we could start, the workshop.
Yeah,
and at the end, we could delete
installing
everything.
Wasn't easier.
We could delete everything. So there was the studio was no more necessary. We could drop the wizards. And then, Okay. And then you quit the project.
I quit the company after that. But before that,
was too successful. You say, okay, now I'm done. And
no, I was somehow, it wasn't so challenging anymore with EGB 3.0, I guess.
It was too easy, This is why many developers quit. So EGB 3 became nice. Okay, now it's time, to learn about another ugly technology, right?
Maybe. I guess it.
Was it still the Kamenicky brother company? Was it the Kamenicky brother company?
Yeah. It was still the same.
Okay.
And then I have left to the loan provider in fintech. It's called Home Credit. I don't know if you know it.
No.
All over the world. And
still Java.
Then, still Java, and it was
Netbeans.
Spring. So
and Netbeans?
No. Everybody was using IDEA there, so I switched to blend in. And I've been learning.
So how you learn Spring? Because you had the EGB3 experience, and then you had to do Spring. So what is your impression about Spring?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, after the EGB3, it was interesting. It was something new, and I've been really excited because I went to the project where there was already a Spring version with this Java config.
Okay.
And I really like that. So I've been learning Spring on the fly, and it was really interesting. And it was a new project, so there was a lot of interesting technologies like liquid base and query DSL, and we have used Meta Widget for UI, which wasn't so nice after all, like it looked from the start.
Query DSL is also dead, right? So Query DSL, I think, is no more maintained. I think.
Yeah, I guess so. But I liked it. It was interesting approach.
And how much XML you had in the Spring project? Because back then my problem was XML again. So And I tried to avoid Spring project back then because I didn't want it to have the XML. So I said,
there was none because we used the Java config. Only XML was in the liquid-based descriptors.
Okay.
And that was something I liked a lot. It was really interesting for me because we have been doing the stuff so it can be run on the Postgre or in the Oracle database.
Yeah, my problem was I was always told by architects that the XML in Spring is nice because they see explicit, how all the modules are wired together. This was always the argument, and I say, okay, I don't get it. Leave me alone. So if you didn't use the XML, then it's nice. But this is what I said. Okay, and I said with EJBs is not possible. It's like it could be possible actually, but no one does that. So we could actually replace in the XML the implementation for an interface. This is how it was meant, but this was never used. So therefore I ignore it. And they say, okay, with Spring you have to know in XML we can see how they relate the beans to each other. It's like I can tell you how they relate because there's always one implementation for an interface. So why I need the XML at all? And this was my discussion. But if you didn't use the XML, I'm with you. So it's pragmatic.
Well, as I saw in other projects, those who have been upgrading Spring, well, migrating to Java config from the XML quite quickly. So I didn't saw anyone who was actually, who would like to stay with the XML descriptors.
The problem is in there was an official documentation from Spring that they said that the annotation-based configuration is not production ready. Annotations are too slow. This was the argumentation in the beginning, and many people read that and said, okay, then we stick with XML.
Yeah, we used it in production.
No, it's perfect. No, I mean, everyone uses this in production right now, but back then was the argumentation, right?
It was the only thing that seems somehow complicated, because if you weren't careful enough, we quickly went for the strong coupling between all the modules in the Java config. And when we started to extending the Java configs of the other modules, it went even worse. So we had the coupling between modules was really tight with this Java config. That was the weaker point, and it could be done differently with the Java config. You just have to be careful not to fall for that. Yeah.
Okay, and what happens after the company?
What happens? I've been working on the project for like 5 years, and I've been playing with some other interesting technologies. And
which technologies you are playing with? Technology, I'm really interesting. So what?
I may have been a weirdo a little, because I've been analyzing the logs with R because it was more interesting than just grabbing the stuff. And did it work well? Because this analyzing logs is also something which I try to do in my leisure, just from Apache logs and just get, some meaning, what's inside. So, and did it work well with R? It worked well because there was a lot of really huge modules in this, in those WebLogic clusters deployed, and some of those modules somehow need to, communicate with the other, and sometimes there was other module who actually, like make a DDoS attack on us because they needed some batch job done, and they over the night tried to download everything over our REST endpoints, and we just got paralyzed, and then we had to actually prove them that it was them who did it. So it was like that we have been analyzing the logs and finding who and how and when and why have downloaded so much data from our endpoints and killed our nodes, basically. So
now you could run your R stuff on GraalVM, right?
Yeah, I guess it's we have switched to Splunk then.
Okay, yeah. But Splunk is expensive actually. So
yeah, it is. yeah, we have been reminded about that. So don't log so much, and that's why you have the logging system, right? Yeah. And it stopped being fun after migrating to Splunk. So
after migrating to Splunk, everything worked, and then you quit the company, I assume, right? So everything became too easy.
No, it's there were like some exodus that a lot of my friends have left, and I've been trying to get to the Oracle actually during the time in the other companies, because I somehow wanted to work there. So I tried it several times, and finally then after some time in this fintech, I managed to get there.
To Oracle?
And yeah, to Oracle. It was 2019. Yeah.
Wow.
And
last year?
Was a third. I'm. Yeah, it's here already.
That's crazy. So you you spent recent time with Spring and R and all the stuff, and then you apply to Oracle, and now you're working for Oracle, right?
Yeah, and I have applied for different position even, and that was close before I was hired in that. So I got to choose different positions, and there was Dmitry, and I saw the Dmitry's teams, and I realized that I have already tried to get there years back to the Jersey team, and I wasn't senior enough then, so I was a little scared of that if I will make it this time, and I will somehow that okay it won't work. I will at least I will try again, and maybe.
But Jersey team would be also fun, right? Because Jersey team they do heavy Jersey is an interesting project.
Yeah, it is. Dmitry's team is also doing the Jersey.
Okay, I didn't know that. So okay.
So I tried that and it works.
So you applied for the Jersey team, and then
the position was called Dmitry's team, which is doing, and there was like the Jersey and Jagsby and Helidon. So I tried it. There's the other option. There was a GraalVM team, and I was like, okay, that's
too much.
I'm not sure if that's way over my head. So
okay, cool.
So yeah.
So where people can find you on the internet? So do you have some links and resources?
Yeah, I have a Twitter account. So it's Daniel Katz. It's KAC. I guess that's all. I don't have any. And I have GitHub. Yeah, it's the same handle actually.
Okay.
It's
and what's about with your front page? It's no more online, so we can do this.
I think there is some web page I have, really old one, not created in Frontpage. I was experimenting with some Google, so it was called.
Okay.
And I have found it some times ago. It's still up, so I have to remove it before somebody sees that. But I don't have any blog or something like that.
Oh, perfect. So I would like to reinvite you back and talk about Helidon a little bit more, if you like.
Yeah.
And this would be great. So I really enjoyed, the history of Kamenicky brothers. And it was really fun to talk with you. Thank you.
Okay. Goodbye.